One wrong step. That's all it takes. Every single year, thousands of people attempt to cross these lines on the map. Some are fleeing war, some are chasing a better life, some are just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Many of them don't make it. These aren't ordinary borders. These are kill zones, minefields, shoot-on-sight territories, the deadliest lines on Earth. Today I'm taking you to 10 borders where crossing could cost you your life. Welcome to Forbidden Frontiers. Don't cross that line. Okay, so before we get into the list, let me explain what makes a border truly deadly. Because look, every country has borders, most of them. You just show your passport, answer a few questions, and you're through. Easy. But some borders, they're not designed to process travelers, they're designed to stop them permanently. There are a few things that make a border deadly. First, active military conflict. When two countries are at war or on the edge of war, the border becomes a frontline. Second, shoot-to-kill policies. Some governments order their soldiers to fire on anyone who tries to cross without permission, no questions asked. Third, natural dangers, deserts, rivers, mountains. The terrain itself becomes a killer. Fourth, landmines. Millions of unexploded mines are buried along borders around the world. One wrong step and fifth, human traffickers and criminal organizations. Some borders are controlled not by governments but by cartels and smugglers who see migrants as cargo or targets. So with that context, let's count down the 10 deadliest no-go borders on Earth, starting with number 10. Number 10, the Venezuela-Colombia border. This is one of the longest borders in South America, stretching over 2,200 kilometers through jungle, mountains, and rivers. And right now, it's a humanitarian crisis. Since 2014, over 7 million Venezuelans have fled their country's economic collapse. Many of them cross into Colombia, but the official border crossings, they're often closed or require documents most people don't have. So they take the unofficial routes. These are called trocas, illegal pathways controlled by armed groups, guerrillas, paramilitaries, drug traffickers, whoever has the guns. To cross, you pay. If you don't have money, you might pay in other ways. Women and children are particularly vulnerable. And the terrain is brutal, dense jungle, fast-moving rivers, no medical help for miles, people drown, people get lost, people disappear. The exact death toll is unknown because so many bodies are never found. But humanitarian organizations estimate hundreds die every year trying to cross. And those who make it, they're the lucky ones. Number 9 is the Bangladesh-India border. This might not be a border you've heard much about, but it's one of the deadliest in the world. India has built a massive fence along almost the entire 4,096-kilometer border with Bangladesh. It's patrolled by the Border Security Force, the BSF, one of the largest border security forces on Earth. And they have a reputation. Human rights organizations have documented over 1,000 people killed by Indian border forces since 2000, shot, beaten, left to bleed out in no man's land. Most of them are Bangladeshi cattle traders or villagers who live right on the border. Sometimes they're just trying to visit relatives on the other side. Sometimes they're smuggling goods, cows mostly. The BSF says they're protecting against illegal immigration and smuggling, but critics say the force is excessive, deadly. Crossings happen at night through gaps in the fence or across rivers. If you're caught, the consequences can be fatal. It's called the deadliest border you've never heard of, and for the people who live along it, every day is a gamble. Number 8, the United States-Mexico border. Okay, you've definitely heard of this one, but do you know how deadly it actually is? The US-Mexico border stretches over 3,100 kilometers. Some of it is fenced, some of it is walled, and some of it is open desert, which, ironically, is often more dangerous than the barriers. Because the desert kills. The Sonoran Desert in Arizona can reach temperatures of 120 degrees Fahrenheit, that's nearly 50 degrees Celsius. Migrants who cross here face dehydration, heat stroke, and exposure. Many don't make it. Then there's the Rio Grande, the river that forms much of the border in Texas. Strong currents, unpredictable depths. Entire families have drowned trying to cross. Since 1998, over 10,000 migrants have died attempting to cross the US-Mexico border. That's the official count. The real number is likely much higher because the desert doesn't give up its dead easily. In recent years, deaths have actually increased, not decreased, as border enforcement has pushed migrants into more remote, more dangerous areas. And then there are the cartels. Criminal organizations control much of the smuggling routes. They charge thousands of dollars per crossing. If you can't pay or if you cross through their territory without permission, you become a target. Mass graves have been discovered on both sides of the border, not victims of the desert, victims of violence. This border has become one of the deadliest migration routes in the world. Number 7. The Eritrea-Ethiopia border. This is a border forged in blood. From 1998 to 2000, Eritrea and Ethiopia fought a brutal border war over territory that, and I'm not exaggerating, some analysts described as two bald men fighting over a comb. The land was essentially worthless. But the war killed up to 100,000 people. Even after a peace agreement in 2018, the border remains heavily militarized. Landmines from the war are still buried throughout the region. Entire communities have been displaced. But here's the real danger. Eritrea's government has implemented a shoot-to-kill policy for anyone trying to flee the country. Remember, Eritrea is often called Africa's North Korea. Citizens are trapped in indefinite military conscription, essentially forced labor for life. Thousands try to escape every month. To do that, they have to cross this border. Those caught by Eritrean border guards face execution or imprisonment. Those who make it across might land in Ethiopian refugee camps, which, during the recent Tigray conflict, were themselves attacked. There's no safe direction on this border, only degrees of danger. Number 6. The Yemen-Saudi Arabia border. This border sits at the intersection of two crises, a devastating civil war and one of the world's busiest and deadliest migration routes. Every year, tens of thousands of migrants from Ethiopia and Somalia cross the Red Sea to Yemen, hoping to eventually reach Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states for work. But first, they have to survive Yemen. Yemen has been at war since 2014. The country is controlled by different factions: Houthis in the north, government forces in the south, and various militias everywhere. Migrants are caught in the crossfire. Human rights organizations have documented horrific abuse. Migrants held in detention centers, tortured, ransomed, women trafficked, children exploited. Then there's the Saudi border itself. It's heavily fortified with fences, surveillance technology, and military patrols. Saudi forces have been accused of shooting at migrants attempting to cross. A 2023 Human Rights Watch report documented mass killings of Ethiopian migrants by Saudi border guards. Witnesses describe systematic shootings, not arrests, not deportations, shootings. The exact death toll is unknown, but this route from the Horn of Africa through Yemen to Saudi Arabia is now considered one of the deadliest migration corridors in the world. Number 5. The Afghanistan-Pakistan border, also known as the Durand Line. This is one of the most lawless borders on Earth. The Durand Line was drawn by the British in 1893, cutting straight through Pashtun tribal lands. Neither Afghanistan nor the people who live there have ever fully accepted it. The result, over a century of conflict. This border stretches over 2,600 kilometers through some of the most rugged terrain on the planet. The Hindu Kush Mountains, the Khyber Pass, remote valleys that no government has ever truly controlled. For decades, this region has been a sanctuary for militant groups, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and now the Pakistani Taliban, known as TTP. They move back and forth across the border with near impunity. The U.S. spent 20 years trying to secure this border during the Afghan War. Drone strikes, special forces raids, billions of dollars, it didn't work. Since the Taliban retook Afghanistan in 2021, tensions have exploded. Pakistan has deported over 2 million Afghan refugees. The Taliban has fired across the border. Clashes are now regular. And scattered throughout this region are millions of landmines and unexploded bombs, remnants of the Soviet invasion, the U.S. war, and ongoing conflicts. For ordinary people, refugees, traders, families split by the line, crossing this border is a daily gamble with death. Number 4. Israel's borders. Now this entry is a bit different because we're not talking about one border. We're talking about several, all of them among the most fortified and dangerous on Earth. Let's start with Gaza. The Gaza Strip is surrounded by a massive barrier, concrete walls, fences, sensors, military posts. For years, it was considered one of the most secure borders in the world. Then came October 7, 2023. Hamas militants breached the barrier and launched the deadliest attack in Israel's history. What followed was a devastating war that continues to this day. As of 2026, the Gaza border remains an active war zone. Tens of thousands dead, millions displaced. Crossing is essentially impossible for civilians. Then there's Lebanon to the north. The border with Lebanon is patrolled by UN peacekeepers, but it's essentially a frontline with Hezbollah. Skirmishes, rocket attacks, and military operations are constant. The Syrian border in the Golan Heights has been unstable since Syria's civil war began. Israeli forces have conducted numerous strikes into Syria. The ceasefire line is tense. Israel has some of the most advanced border security in the world: walls, sensors, drones, the Iron Dome missile defense system. But as October 7th proved, even the most fortified borders can be breached. And when they are, the consequences are catastrophic. Number 3 is the Russia-Ukraine border. This is, right now, the most active war zone in Europe since World War II. In February 2022, Russian forces invaded Ukraine across multiple border points. What was supposed to be a quick operation turned into a grinding, devastating war that has now lasted over 4 years. The current frontline stretches across eastern and southern Ukraine, a shifting border of trenches, minefields, and constant artillery fire. This isn't a border you cross, it's a border you survive. Millions of Ukrainians have been displaced. Cities like Mariupol, Bakhmut, and parts of Kharkiv have been reduced to rubble. The death toll, military and civilian, is estimated in the hundreds of thousands. In 2024 and 2025, the war even spilled into Russian territory, with Ukrainian forces launching incursions into Russia's Kursk region. For the first time since World War II, foreign troops occupied Russian soil. Both sides have laid millions of landmines. Ukraine is now one of the most heavily mined countries in the world. Clearing them will take decades, and hanging over everything is the nuclear threat. Russia has repeatedly implied it might use nuclear weapons if pushed too far. This border isn't just deadly for those who live there, it's dangerous for the entire world. This is a border where the concept of crossing doesn't really apply. There's no safe passage, there's only the front line. Number 2, the India-Pakistan border, specifically the line of control in Kashmir. This might be the most dangerous border in the world that most people don't fully understand. When British India was partitioned in 1947, the Kashmir region became contested territory. India and Pakistan have fought 3 wars over it. Both countries now have nuclear weapons. Let that sink in. 2 nuclear powers facing each other across a disputed mountain border with regular gunfire. The line of control, the de facto border, runs through some of the highest mountains on Earth. Soldiers on both sides are stationed at elevations above 20,000 feet where the cold kills as often as the bullets. Ceasefires are declared and broken constantly. Artillery exchanges, sniper fire, infiltration attempts. Civilians living near the border spend their lives in bunkers. And then there's the Siachen Glacier, the highest battlefield in the world. At over 20,000 feet, Indian and Pakistani soldiers face off in temperatures that can drop to minus 60 degrees Celsius. More soldiers die from the cold than from combat. The death toll since 1947 is estimated at over 80,000 soldiers and civilians combined. And the stakes, nuclear war that could kill millions. As recently as 2019, India launched airstrikes into Pakistani territory. Pakistan responded. Both countries were on the brink of war. Again, this isn't just a deadly border, it's a global flashpoint, and it's been burning for over 75 years. Number 1, the Korean Demilitarized Zone, the DMZ. This is it, the deadliest border on Earth. The DMZ is a 250-kilometer-long, 4-kilometer-wide strip of land cutting the Korean peninsula in half. It was created in 1953 when the Korean War ended, not with a peace treaty but with an armistice, a ceasefire. Technically, North Korea and South Korea are still at war. On either side of this narrow strip are nearly 2 million soldiers. Thousands of artillery pieces, tanks, missiles, both sides pointing directly at each other, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for over 70 years, and between them an estimated 2 million landmines. The DMZ is one of the most heavily mined places on Earth. Step off the designated paths and you might not take another step. The only place where the 2 sides meet face-to-face is the Joint Security Area at Panmunjom. This is where negotiations happen and where tensions occasionally explode. In 1976, North Korean soldiers killed 2 American officers with axes during a tree-cutting operation. The U.S. response nearly started a second Korean War. Defectors occasionally try to cross from north to south. In 2017, a North Korean soldier drove a jeep toward the border, crashed, and ran on foot while his former comrades shot at him. He was hit 5 times but survived barely. Most don't. North Korea maintains a shoot-to-kill policy for anyone attempting to flee. The border is lined with guards, sensors, and fortifications designed to keep people in as much as out. And unlike other deadly borders, this one has nuclear weapons on both sides of the equation. North Korea has tested nuclear bombs and intercontinental missiles. An incident at the DMZ could escalate to nuclear war. Ironically, because humans are largely absent from the DMZ, it's become an accidental nature preserve. Rare animals thrive in the no-man's land, but that beauty is deceptive. This is the most heavily fortified, most militarized, most dangerous border on the planet. And for 70 years, it's been a finger on the trigger of global catastrophe. This is the line you never cross. We've just traveled to 10 of the deadliest borders on Earth. Lines on a map that have claimed thousands, maybe millions of lives. Minefields, shoot-to-kill zones, war zones, human trafficking routes, nuclear flashpoints. From the deserts of the US-Mexico border to the frozen mountains of Kashmir, from the war-torn rubble of Ukraine to the silent tension of the DMZ. These borders remind us that maps are not neutral, they're drawn in blood, and for the people who live along them or try to cross them, every day is a gamble with death. If this video opened your eyes, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button. We're on a mission to explore the world's most restricted, forbidden, and dangerous places, and we can't do it without you. If you want to go deeper, click right here to watch our video on Inside North Korea, What They Don't Show You. I'm Forbidden Frontiers. Thanks for watching. And remember, some lines should never be crossed.